You ever watch a moment in fighting so raw, so intense, that you just know you're witnessing history? Not a highlight, not a headline, but a real turning point in the game? That's what UFC 320 felt like, man. It wasn't just another main event. It was one of those nights where time slows down, where the crowd's holding its breath, and you can almost feel the gravity of what's about to happen. Alex Pereira walks out there looking like a living legend, calm, silent, deadly, and everybody knows something's about to explode. And from that second on, everything changes. The knockout, the call-out, the refusal, the dream of moving up. It's all part of this wild cinematic chapter in a fighter's story that's way bigger than just belts or rankings. This is about legacy, about destiny, about a guy who refuses to play by the system and keeps proving that belief, timing, and pure willpower can rewrite the rules of combat. So let's get into it, because what happened that night and everything hat followed tells you more about what fighting really is than any press conference ever could. All right, so picture this. The arena's buzzing, lights are pulsing, everyone's on edge because they know something wild's about to go down. UFC 320, man. That night had energy you could feel through the screen. Alex Pereira walks in there looking like a dude who's carved out of granite. Calm, cold, almost eerie with how composed he is. Across from him, you've got Magomed Ankalaev, tough as hell, strong grappler, great counter-striker, and everyone's thinking this could be a long technical war, maybe even go 5 rounds. But then it happens. Pereira just starts reading him like a book. You can see it in his eyes. He's downloading data in real time, stalking, measuring like a big cat that knows exactly when to pounce. Ankalaev throws a jab. Pereira doesn't even blink, just shifts, sets that left hook. Bang! First clean shot lands and the crowd explodes. Ankalaev stumbles, tries to wreck. Over, but Pereira's not giving him that chance. He smells blood, and when this guy smells blood, it's over. He steps in, launches that signature combo, left hook, right cross, knee up the middle, and Ankalaev collapses. 1 minute, 20 seconds. That's it. The ref jumps in, fight's over, and suddenly this man's standing there again as light heavyweight champion. The energy in that place was insane. You can literally see people losing their minds, phones in the air, commentators screaming, and Pereira's just stone-faced calm, like he just took out the trash. It's this weird primal presence. You can't teach that. He's got the aura of a guy who knows his power is different, like he's carrying some old warrior spirit around with him. And right after that, while the crowd's still processing what they just witnessed, the camera cuts to the commentary desk, and everyone's already buzzing. Who's next? Who could possibly stand with this dude now? And almost on cue, here comes the call. Out, right? Khamzat Chimaev, the wolf himself, jumps online, congratulates him, says they've got unfinished business. It's the kind of moment that shifts the night from shock to pure speculation. Everyone's already imagining that fight, the clash of styles, the chaos it would bring. But little did anyone know, Pereira had other plans brewing, bigger, heavier, maybe even scarier ones, and that's where the story takes a turn. So right after that madness, while people are still screaming and rewatching the knockout on their phones, you've got Khamzat Chimaev, this absolute savage of a fighter, jumping online, firing off messages, calling out Pereira like a wolf who just caught the scent of blood. And you gotta understand, this isn't some random dude chirping for attention. This is Khamzat, man, undefeated, terrifying, and genuinely believes no one on the planet can stop him. He sees Pereira starch Ankalaev, and in his mind, that's his opening, that's his storyline. He tweets out, something like, "Congrats, champ. Now let's finish our business." And it instantly blows up. Fans are split. Half of them are hyped, saying, "Oh man, that's the fight we need." The other half's going, "Hold on, that's a mismatch. Pereira's too big, too powerful." But Khamzat doesn't care about that. That guy's built different. He thrives off chaos, off challenge, off that primal feeling of going into deep water. And what's crazy is he's not even at light heavyweight. He's a middleweight champ walking around at like 185, and yet he's out here calling for smoke with a dude who just flattened a legit 205-pound monster. That's wild confidence. That's borderline insanity, but that's also what makes him magnetic. When Khamzat talks, it doesn't sound like marketing, it sounds like hunger. The kind that burns through the screen. He's calling out Pereira not because it's smart business, but because he wants to prove something about domination, about who's the alpha in this jungle. And fans? They're eating it up. Every podcast, every YouTube breakdown, every MMA page is lit up with what if questions. Can Khamzat handle that power? Can Pereira survive that wrestling pressure? It becomes this immediate spark that reignites the rivalry they almost had years ago when Pereira said he'd fight him at light heavyweight and Khamzat backed off. Now the roles are reversed. Pereira's at the top and Khamzat's the one knocking at the door saying, "Let's see if you have still got that same energy." It's wild because you can feel the shift. This isn't just a call-out, it's a collision course between two different kinds of killers. One built on pure striking precision, the other on relentless chaos, and right there in that tension, you can sense the next storm building, even before Pereira says a single word. And then, man, the way Pereira responds, it's classic him, just cold, unshaken, like he's carved out of some ancient stone. Everyone's waiting for a fiery back and foe. RTH, right? Expecting him to clap back at Khamzat, maybe throw a few shots online, build the hype, but no. He just keeps it measured, respectful even, says thanks for the congrats, acknowledges the call-out, and then flips the whole narrative on its head. He's like, look, I've got other plans. I'm not chasing that fight. I'm looking towards something bigger, maybe even heavyweight. And that's when you realize this guy's not operating on the same wavelength as everyone else. While Khamzat's out here hunting, talking legacy through blood and war, Pereira's already thinking about evolution. You can almost hear the subtext. And I've been there, I've done that, and now I am chasing something even more dangerous. It's not arrogance, it's clarity. He's a guy who's seen what obsession does, who's learned that not every fight is worth the risk if it doesn't align with the mission. And let's not forget, he'd offered Khamzat a fight before, back when he was just making noise, and Khamzat turned it down. So now Pereira's probably thinking, why should I dance to your tune now that I'm the king? It's a power move disguised as calm dismissal. No need for drama, no need for noise. Just a champion saying, I control the terms. And you can feel that shift. The fans expecting war and instead getting strategy. He's looking at heavyweights, man, thinking about John Jones, about creating a moment that cements him as one of the few who dared to climb 3 mountains in the UFC. It's wild because in that one decision, that quiet refusal, you can see how fighters think differently once they touch greatness. They stop reacting, they start orchestrating. And Pereira's doing exactly that. He's choosing legacy over hype, quality over chaos. He knows fighting Khamzat is a headline, sure, but moving up and chasing giants, that's history. It's like watching someone who's cracked the code of the fight game, not just how to win, but how to mean something when you do. And that kind of mindset doesn't just silence the noise, it changes the whole damn conversation about what being a champion even is. And here's where it gets really interesting, because when Pereira says it doesn't make sense, he's not dodging, he's dissecting. He's basically saying, why would I take a fight that does nothing for me? And that's a point people miss. He's already holding gold. He's sitting on top of the light heavyweight mountain, and Khamzat, as great as he is, isn't even in that division. From Pereira's perspective, it's like, what's the upside? If he wins, everyone goes, well, he was supposed to, he's the bigger guy. But if something goes wrong, if he slips, if he gets caught, if Khamzat drags him down and wrestles him, then suddenly all that aura he's built, that terrifying mystique, it cracks a little. He's too smart for that. You can tell he's not thinking as a fighter in a cage. He's thinking as a chess player looking 5 moves ahead. And honestly, that's what separates champ. Ions who last from the ones who burn out quick chasing hype. Pereira's seen what happens when fighters take every challenge just to prove a point. They end up broken or forgotten. So when he says it doesn't make sense, he's talking about timing, about narrative, about risk versus reward. He's pointing out that Khamzat's the one trying to use his name to build momentum, not the other way around. And that's not ego, that's reality. This is a business where perception shapes everything. The UFC's full of killers, man, but only a few understand when to fight and when to hold. Plus, there's the personal side. Pereira remembers that Khamzat had his chance before. Back when Pereira offered him a fight at light heavyweight, Khamzat wanted no part of it. So now, from his point of view, it's like, oh, now that I'm champ again, now you want in? It's not bitterness, it's principle. He's saying, if you didn't want the smoke when I was climbing, you don't get to ask for it now that I'm on the throne. It's that warrior's code, mixed with modern fight IQ. He's not running from the fight. He's redefining its value. Because in his mind, real power isn't about saying yes to every challenge. It's about making people realize they need you more than you need them. And when Pereira says that line, that it just doesn't make sense, it's not an excuse. It's dominance disguised as discipline. And now when you look at what Pereira wants next, man, you can tell he's operating on a whole different frequency. He's not looking sideways anymore. He's looking up. He's talking about heavyweight, talking about chasing the kind of fights that etch your name into the walls of history, not just rack up numbers. You can hear it in his tone. He's done with proving himself to people who question him. Now he wants to test himself against the laws of nature. Like he's conquered middleweight, took out legends, moved up to light heavyweight, flattened monsters, reclaimed the belt, and now he's ring at that next mountain thinking, why not? That's the mentality of a dude who's not chasing belts anymore. He's chasing immortality. He wants to fight the biggest, scariest guys in the room, maybe John Jones, maybe Aspinall, maybe whoever's at the top of the food chain, not because it's smart, but because it's what warriors do. And when he talks about that move, it doesn't sound like hype, it sounds like purpose. He's built this persona that feels ancient, like he's carrying the spirit of some old tribal fighter who can't rest until he's tested against every kind of danger the world can throw at him. And honestly, that's why fans are obsessed with him. It's not just the knockouts, it's that sense that he's becoming something bigger with every fight. You look at him and you realize he's not content being another great champion. He wants to be the myth people tell when they talk about what real fighters were like. And that's the wild part, because in doing that, he's changing the conversation. He's saying you don't need to respond to every call out or chase every storyline. You write your own. That's what separates him from the rest, that calm, deliberate ambition that feels almost spiritual. So when he says he wants heavyweight, he's not saying it to sound tough. He's saying it because, in his mind, that's where the final test is. Bigger men, harder hits, higher stakes. He's the kind of guy who won't feel complete until he's stood toe-to-toe with giants and seen what's left of himself afterward. It's not ego, it's destiny, man. And you can just feel that this next chapter for him isn't about fighting opponents anymore. It's about fighting limits. So when you step back and look at all this, man, it's wild. It's not just another fight story. It's evolution happening right in front of us. You've got Alex Pereira, this quiet storm of a human being, moving through the fight game like some ancient warrior who time traveled into the modern world. Every move he makes, from knocking out Ankalaev to brushing off Khamzat's call-out, to setting his sights on the heavyweights, it's all part of this bigger arc. He's not chasing hype, he's building legacy, and that's something we don't see often anymore. It's rare. Most fighters talk about being great, he just does it. And that's why people can't stop watching him, because he represents something primal, something real, something beyond the trash talk and Twitter callouts. You look at him and you're reminded what combat actually means, the discipline, the danger, the beauty in the chaos. And whether you love him or doubt him, you can't deny that he's one of those once-in-a-generation guys who change how we think about fighting itself. So yeah, wherever he goes next, heavyweight, super fight, whatever mountain he decides to climb, it's going to be something special to witness. The guy's rewriting what's possible in this sport. So here's to that. To the warriors who still chase meaning over fame, who walk their own path no matter who's yelling from the sidelines. Good luck to Alex Pereira on whatever comes next, and thank you to everyone who's been tuned in, thinking, talking, arguing, and just feeling this fight game the way it's meant to be felt, raw, unpredictable, alive.